Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of Herbal Medicine 101. Through the winter we are focusing on culinary herbs. This is one of my favorites, and oh, it smells so good. This is tarragon. Let's get a good look at this bunch of tarragon. This is probably an underutilized culinary herb in America, at least in our time. At one point it would have been considered essential. In the old cookbooks it would have been. I don't know. Nowadays, I don't know. People cook different. I don't know. But anyway, there's a good little shot of it there. This has some really remarkable medicinal properties. Now, first of all, this is French tarragon. Some people say that Russian tarragon is a little more potent medicinally. However, that's not always a good thing. First of all, French tarragon is far more aromatic and has a much better flavor. As you can see, I got this from the grocery store. I'm not growing herbs in the dead of winter. And I'm in my little temporary indoor studio. Hopefully it'll be very temporary because I'd much rather be outside talking herbs with y'all. So, 99 cents at the grocery store. This is a good medicinal dose of tarragon, actually. This is probably the maximum I would use in a medicinal dose. Of course, if it was dried, I wouldn't use more than about teaspoonful, tablespoonful. It is in the composite family, which in this case doesn't mean a whole lot. I wanted to just show you the leaves so you can show that it does have the compositaceae leaves or whatever. They're nice and long and slender. This is an Artemesia. This is probably the most mild of the Artemesias. The Artemesias include wormwood and mugwort and sweet annie. This one, probably not going to hurt you. Let me put it that way. Now, as we talked about last week, the wormwood family and sage families are kind of related. All of them have vermifuge properties, which means in medicinal doses, not culinary doses necessarily, these will help rid you of intestinal parasites and worms. They are also a minagogue, meaning they can bring on menses. And even, yes, this French tarragon, this little deliciously smelling French tarragon right here, stimulates the uterus and can, like I said, bring on menses. Should be used very carefully, if at all, by pregnant women. Definitely not in medicinal dosages. Medicinal dosages are not your culinary dose. We're just going to take a few of these leaves and tear them up. And, well, what did I do this afternoon? I made some deviled eggs. I tore them up and I mixed them in with the deviled eggs. It was so good with a little Coleman's English mustard and some French tarragon. Yeah, I'm a little bit English too, so I tend to mix those traditions together. Excellent in cooking. In fact, I was talking with a young lady the other night, college student, and we were talking about cooking. And she doesn't really know a lot about classical French cooking, so I sent her some information on really the foundation of French cooking, which is what you call your mother sauces. Really, all of the sauces come from a stock, where you boil down bones and some vegetable scraps. Now, you may say bechamel uses milk, but milk is, as the French call it, its own fond or its own stock or broth. But even then, you're going to add some herbs usually. The herbs you're usually going to use in French cooking are tarragon and parsley. And I said, I'm going to warn you, you're going to become a tarragon and parsley addict because this stuff is absolutely essential. When I think of French cooking, tarragon, parsley, chervil, another herb we don't use a whole lot anymore. Yeah, it's going to be in there. It's so good. I mean, you may have had a tarragon-infused butter, a compound butter. Take this herb, chop it up, mix it in with softened butter, not melted obviously. Softened butter, just roll it together, a little bit of salt, spread that on steak, spread it on fish, eat it plain on crackers. It's delicious. You may have had a tarragon-infused cheese. That's not uncommon. You may have most often had tarragon-infused vinegar. Yeah, this amount here is good, good bunch. Just put this down inside a good kind of mild vinegar. I would go with a white wine vinegar. Rice vinegar is very nice. Certainly sherry vinegar or champagne vinegar, and it's just going to give this wonderful scent you can use in so many different ways. But everything from your white chicken stock to your brown chicken stock to your beef stock, which is the foundation of like 70%. I mean, those two, chicken stock and a beef stock, 70% of all stocks, all sauces, all broths, all stews, tarragon, parsley are two main things. And it just smells fantastic. The French version is aromatic. The Russian version is not. Now, the Russian version, as I said, some say may be more potent medicinally. It does not have a lot of culinary value. Now, some of my Slavic listeners may be outraged. I may get some nasty emails. I understand. Y'all have your own tarragon, and there are similarities, but there are differences. If I was to say this is more mild in flavor, but more aromatic, and this is why we want to use the French tarragon. Now, as for medicinal use, this is not an herb that is widely used in herbal medicine anymore. But once it was very much used in herbal medicine. This is one that was used by the ancient Greeks and Romans. This is one that was used in the ancient monastic gardens. It had many, many uses beyond the culinary potential. Now we think of it more as a culinary herb, but as I explained last week, more than likely the way a lot of these herbs got into use in the kitchen, well, I know it's not more than likely, it's a fact, they started medicinally. But more than likely the way they started medicinally is back in the time when the water was bad to drink. People maybe dropped some sage or a member of the Artemesia family, like wormwood or mugwort, into their water and found out, hey, now it's safe to drink. It's not giving me diarrhea, right? So they realized these herbs could help with diarrhea. They could help with preserving food. All these herbs combined with meat, combined with pickles. Tarragon is a classical pickling spice. Would help preserve those foods and keep you from getting sick. And for our ancestors, before the age of refrigeration, pasteurization, sterilization, and all that, before microbiology had even been a concept, outside of the mind of St. Hildegard von Bingen, who in the 1080s was writing about viruses and germ theory in incredible detail without ever having seen a microscope, because she was an incredible gifted herbalist who said she learned herbal medicine from the voice of the living light. She was actually taught herbal medicine by angels and saints and all that kind of thing. This herb was mainly used to help ease indigestion, to help preserve foods, to help, all the Artemesias has some antibacterial, some very strong antiviral properties. Russian tarragon, I think, is probably a little stronger in that than the French. Sweet Annie was actually used, it's a relative to this plant. It's native to North America, but also grows in other areas. Was actually used during the swine flu epidemic. It was the best remedy, and people discovered it again during COVID-19. Did it work or not? I don't know. But people began to use it for its antiviral properties. Also very good for the lungs. Let me get to sort of more of the official uses. Tarragon is slightly bitter, okay? Mildly bitter. It's nothing like wormwood. Wormwood's one of your more bitter herbs. This one is almost like a very hint of anise or licorice flavor. It stimulates the digestive system. Whenever you stimulate the digestive system, you're increasing those gastric juices, which also help to prevent against food poisoning and such, because you have more acid and bile to break things down. That's a big part of our immune system is those gastric juices followed by your gut flora and bacteria. Without that, if you take a lot of antibiotics and you've disrupted that gut flora and bacteria, it's a mix of just a really complex group of organisms that live in our system that actually, they thrive by keeping us alive. So over the centuries of humanity living in conjunction with our environment, these organisms have come to live within our gut, and they actually kill off a lot of the bad stuff, and they make us healthy, and that's how they survive. It's a symbiotic relationship. So if you have been on a lot of antibiotics or you only eat a lot of pasteurized food, I would definitely start, probiotic pills and stuff are fine. Okay, you usually have one or two or three little lactobacillus or something, not the best. Best thing to do is start with fermented food. Start with some real sauerkraut. Probably need to do a whole show on sauerkraut, actually. But the recipes in my book, in a couple of my books, Herbal Medicine for Homesteaders and Omnivore's Guide to Home Cooking, I put the recipe in both of my books. It's essential. All it is cabbage chopped up with plain non-iodized salt, worked into it, put in an oxygen-proof container that will allow carbon dioxide to escape, and that bacteria, all that good probiotic stuff will start to grow in there, and you'll get this broad spectrum that you won't get out of a pill. Likewise, obviously unpasteurized buttermilk, yogurt, obviously, if you can even find it these days. These are things you're probably going to have to go to independent producers to get. Just about everything on the grocery store shelf is pasteurized, and that keeps it shelf stable, makes it last longer, but it doesn't help your gut flora. Same with kefir or kefir, depending on how you want to pronounce it. I say kefir, some people say kefir, I don't care. There's a milk version and a water version. There's kombucha. Kombucha is very popular these days. You can probably go down to just about any corner store and get a bottle of kombucha. It's probably been pasteurized. You get the flavor of kombucha and very little, if any, of the health benefits. So look into that. Look into your fermented foods. Real lacto-fermented pickles. I've got those recipes in my books too. That's going to help. Kimchi. Oh yeah, kimchi's fantastic. Miso, very good. Thinking of Asian foods. Miso is a fermented bean paste. It's actually quite delicious. I hate soybeans. I love miso. And and what you call prebiotic foods, things like onions and garlic and avocados and such, they just support that gut health. But anyway, tarragon specifically has been used as to stimulate the uterus. So again, dangerous during pregnancy, but it has that effect as well at other times. For that reason, it's been considered somewhat of an aphrodisiac at some points in time, but I can't attest to that, and I'm not going to make that statement. It lowers fevers. Tarragon's a really good one to have on hand if you have a cold, a flu, and you need to lower fever. And it has vermifuge properties. It actually can, in large doses, destroy intestinal worms. Another reason you don't ever use this during pregnancy. Its main use now is as a culinary herb. It enhances flavors. It brings out the flavors of food. It helps carry the taste kind of up the back of the sinus, just like parsley, so you get more flavor out of your food. It balances flavors with its slight bitterness, slight sweetness, aromatic quality. It has some other really interesting properties, though. I mean, it's got vitamin C. These are nice green leaves. Again, so it's anti-scorbutic, meaning it would help prevent scurvy. It's diuretic. It can help remove excess fluids from the system. For like dropsy or just retained fluid, for that reason, it can be good for blood pressure. High blood pressure can be lowered a little bit if you can get rid of those excess fluids. I mentioned it's a menagogue. It can bring on menses, so especially delayed menses. This is one of the classic herbs for young women. Now, all the Artemesias have a slight psychoactive property. Specifically, tarragon, and I think more so in the Russian than in the French, is what we call hypnotic. It can actually help you sleep. It can settle an upset stomach, used for indigestion, flatulence, hiccups. It's really good for hiccups. And in that case, I just take some just fresh and just eat it just like that. Good for nausea. This is one that really can help with nausea. It's mildly sedative, and as I said, it can help you sleep. It can also just help relax the muscles, but that's not all. Used topically, make a poultice out of it. It's really good for sore muscles, arthritic joints, anything along those lines. It's also, especially the root of the plant, has been used for toothache. You can make a tincture of it, or you can just kind of chew up the root and hold it there, and it has a somewhat numbing effect. In aromatherapy, it's also used to treat digestive and menstrual problems, but that's not really my area of expertise, in other words. I love it as a culinary herb. I like to have plenty of it on hand, dried or fresh, so I can use it, especially for an upset stomach. It's one I might combine with caraway or dill, herbs we'll be talking about soon. So remember, y'all, not for use in medicinal doses by pregnant women. Definitely an herb to start including in your diet. I think it's fantastic. I mean, like I said, you will become addicted to tarragon and parsley and and chervil. That combination is just really fantastic. A few cloves, little star anise, put that in a beef broth, and it's just like brings out the flavor like nothing you can imagine. You get this like it's so beefier. Or like in chicken, I would use the tarragon with maybe some thyme and parsley, and it brings out the flavor of that poultry. Cooked with onions, oh, it's fantastic. It's an absolute must with like baked roasted onions or caramelized onions for an onion soup. Really, really good. So if you're going to grow it in your garden, be sure to get the French tarragon. You're going to have to take that from cuttings. It does not grow well from seed. It can be very challenging. It does prefer more of a dry climate. It does fine in heat and cool, but it doesn't like wet feet. Obviously if there's a Russian variety, it does very well in cool environments. Russian tarragon, you can grow from seed. It's going to have the medicinal properties and may even be a bit stronger. That's Artemesia, something that sounds like Dracula. Let me think. Dracunculosis, I believe. Artemisia dracunculosis, if I remember correctly. It's a great herb to have on hand, and in my opinion, it's an essential for the kitchen. You also find it in a lot of the old European liqueurs and alcoholic drinks that were heavily flavored with herbs. An excellent digestif, meaning you take a little sip of that after a meal, and it helps settle the stomach, gets rid of any gassiness or heartburn or anything like that. Really good herb to have on hand. And I consider it, if I was going to say, what are my top 5 culinary herbs? Tarragon's going to be in there. It may not make my top 5 medicinal herbs, but it certainly has a place. And start learning to use it now. All those great meals we have around Thanksgiving and Christmas, tarragon's just going to fit right in just perfectly. I mean, I promise you, you will become addicted to tarragon. And actually, there are a couple of members of the Artemesia family that may be a little addictive, but tarragon's not one of them, so don't worry about that. But like I said, the Russian you can grow from seed, the French you need to get from cuttings. So y'all have a great week, and hopefully maybe it won't be so cold next week and I can do the next show outside. If not, I'll see you right back here next week. Have a good one.